Welcome. Today, we're going to dig into what truly makes a business valuable to an acquirer. We're talking about how to turn all your hard work into a sellable asset that someone else would be thrilled to own.
So let's just kick things off with a really big question, a question every single business owner should be asking themselves. Is what you've built just a high-paying job for yourself, or is it a genuine, valuable asset? Something that can thrive without you? The answer really changes everything.
Okay, here's our game plan. We're going to start by unpacking what I call the levers of value. Then, we'll dive into the two-part story of performance and potential. After that, we'll talk about how to create a business that runs itself. And we'll wrap up by completely shifting our perspective to your buyer's starting line.
So how do you take your business from being, your personal project, your baby, and turn it into something an investor actually wants to buy? Well, it's not magic, and it's definitely not luck. It all comes down to a series of very strategic decisions.
Yeah, it really boils down to these 8 key drivers. Think of them like levers you can pull to literally crank up your company's value. We're going to focus on 4 of the absolute biggest and most critical ones today.
All right, let's jump into the first 2. And you really have to think of these as 2 sides of the same coin. One side is the hard proof of what you've already accomplished. The other, well, that's the exciting promise of what a new owner could accomplish.
Okay, first things first, solid financial performance. And we're not just talking about profit here. The key takeaway is that sometimes bigger really is better. Why? Because high revenue signals to a buyer that you've got a stable setup, a solid customer base, and that makes you a much, much less risky bet.
I mean, just look at the story of RX Bar. What a journey, right? They started out small, but they were so laser-focused on that clean label, simple ingredient approach, and their revenue it exploded.
And boy, did that growth pay off. A whopping $600 million. That's what Kellogg's paid for them in 2017. And get this, that price wasn't just pulled out of thin air. It was based on a multiple of their revenue, a number that was way, way higher than what they could have gotten when they were a smaller company.
And this is where it all just clicks into place. The quote here says it all. Larger companies are less dependent on their owners. RX Bar's massive growth was the ultimate proof that they were a turnkey operation. A buyer could just walk in, turn the key, and the business would keep humming along, even without the original founders. That, right there, is what buyers will pay a huge premium for.
But hang on, it is not just about revenue. You absolutely have to have consistent profits and, this is huge, transparent, clean financial records. Seriously, this part is non-negotiable. Messy books are a massive red flag. Clean books build trust, and they make the whole sale process go so much faster.
Okay, so let's flip that coin over. We talked about the proof, your past performance. Now let's talk about the promise, your growth potential. Because at the end of the day, a buyer is investing in your company's future, not just writing a check to reward you for your past. And Sweetgreen is just a fantastic case study for this. They absolutely nailed a local model that was super successful, right? By proving that their system could be replicated over and over again, from one location to over 200, they were basically screaming massive future potential to investors. They laid out a clear roadmap.
And here's the real kicker. You don't just sit around and wait for potential to happen. It's not passive. You have to actively build it. You do that with smart market research, by constantly innovating your products, and by striking up strategic partnerships that can blow open doors to entirely new markets.
All right, next up, we're going to talk all about de-risking your business. And this is huge because think about it. The less risky your company looks, the more an acquirer is willing to pay. It's a direct one-to-one relationship.
And a great way to think about this is what the source material calls the Switzerland structure. Just like the country, right? The whole goal is to be neutral and independent. You don't ever want to be dangerously reliant on any one single relationship.
And the best part is, this isn't some abstract, complicated theory. You can do this with really clear, practical steps. A good rule of thumb, make sure no single customer makes up more than, say, 15% of your revenue. Always have backup suppliers in your back pocket. And cross-train your team. That way, if your star player leaves, the whole operation doesn't grind to a halt.
Now, this is what I find so cool. This isn't just some theory for small businesses. We're talking about the big leagues here. Tesla, Netflix, Cisco, they have all used this exact strategy to de-risk their operations, boost their resilience, and, you guessed it, jack up their market valuation.
Okay, here's another really powerful concept, the valuation teeter-totter.
It's actually super simple, but so important. The more cash your business eats up just to keep the lights on, that's your working capital, the less an acquirer is going to pay you for it. It's a seesaw.
Yeah, picture it this way. When someone buys your company, they're basically writing two checks. The first one, that's for you. It goes right in your pocket. But the second one goes straight back into the business bank account just to cover its day-to-day cash needs. So your job is to make that second check as tiny as possible. So the first one, your check, can be as big as possible.
And this chart lays it out perfectly. On one side, you've got a cash-hungry business that's always paying its suppliers before it gets money from customers. On the other side, you have a super cash-efficient business. Think about companies like Dell or Airbnb. They get your money up front. That makes them incredibly attractive and boosts their valuation like you wouldn't believe.
Okay, to wrap things up, I want to leave you with one really powerful metaphor. Seriously, this one idea could completely change how you think about the whole process of selling your business. Look, after pouring your blood, sweat, and tears into your company for years, it totally feels like you're crossing the finish line of a marathon. And you are. But you have to remember, for the person buying your company, this is not the end. For them, it is the starting gun of their race. And that is why everything we've talked about today matters so much. Your track record, your financial performance, that's what gets them interested. It gets them to the starting line. But your growth potential, your Switzerland structure, your cash efficiency, that's what they're betting on to actually win their marathon.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's this. Start pulling these value levers today, right now. Building a business that's truly sellable isn't something you cram for at the very end. It's something you bake into the DNA of your company every single day. You're not just running your race, you're getting the course ready for the next runner.